A very great morning to you. It is a Thursday and happens to be the 24th of November, a few days to the end of the month and also a few days, I would say, to the end of the year. Hopefully you have had a wonderful night and you are ready and set for the day. My name is Chantal Akandinda and I'm here with your smart business, and of course we take it to any business angle and we get to have the discussion every single day on here on Smart 24 television. Now, to kickstart this morning, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, has arrived in the Socialist Republic of Vietnam for a 3-day state visit at an invitation of from his counterpart, that is President Diem Phu, and at Noi Bai International Airport in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. His Excellency was received by the Chairman, Office of the President, that is Lee Can Hai, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Vietnam, Ambassador Nguyen Minh Hang, and the Director, the Director General in charge of Middle East and Africa, Mr. Bui Ha Nam, and Chief of State Protocol Nguyen Viet Dung. Others were the Director General of Middle East and Africa Department and the Director General of External Relations Office of the President. On the Uganda side were Minister of Foreign Affairs General Haj Abubakar Jeje Odong, Minister for ICT and National Guidance, that is also the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, that is Matia Kasaija, Dr. Chris Valimosi, who is the Minister for ICT, and Honorable Ntawazi Harriet, the State Minister for Trade, and the Minister for Agriculture, Animal Husbandry and Fisheries, that is Frank Tumwesije. Others were Uganda's permanent representative to the United Nations, that is Adonia Ayebare, Mr. King Caesar Mulenga, the Honorary Consul of Social Republic of Vietnam to Uganda, the Vietnamese Ambassador Designate to Uganda, and Honorable Betty Ebigombe, the Ambassador Designate to Asian Pacific countries. While in Vietnam, General Museveni is expected to, among other engagements, hold bilateral talks with the host, who happens to be the president at the presidential palace, and witness the signing of agreements and different memorandum of understandings, that is MOUs, between the two governments. Now, General Museveni will also pay a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Vietnam, that is Pham Minh, and the Vietnam Communist Party General Secretary, that is Nguyen, at office of the Central Committee of the Communist Party at the Communist Party of Vietnam. Later in the week, the Ugandan president will officiate the opening of the much-anticipated Vietnam National Convention Center in Hanoi, and the theme is going to be unlocking investment opportunities, and later meet the Ugandan community that is in Vietnam. Then the first ever trade event between the two countries, and the summit will provide a unique platform to accelerate Uganda-Vietnam trade and bilateral relationships. Now, President Museveni will also lay a wreath at the President Ho Chi, which is the final resting place of Uncle Ho, the beloved founder of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Now, President Ho Chi is regarded highly in Vietnam as having been the great master of the Vietnamese Revolution, an eminent soldier, a brilliant activist of the international communist and national liberation movements. His Excellency Museveni will also visit the FPT University and FPT Software, that is a Honlag High Tech Park and Vaccine Research Center of Vietnam Academy of Agriculture Science at Thanh Tri in Hanoi. The government of the Republic of Uganda and the Socialist Republic of Vietnam have agreed almost 50 years of bilateral cooperation since 1973. This relationship was revitalized in 2017 with the appointment of the first honorary consul of Vietnam in Uganda, which represents a great opportunity to promote trade, investment, opportunities and tourism in the country, and that is what you're seeing at the moment is a parade in Vietnam, but our president is expected to be on a 3-day visit in Vietnam, and we are praying and hoping that this is going to yield great results when it comes to economic development, especially when you look at the reasons as to why he has decided to go and visit this country. Well, we are hoping for the very best, and we are wishing our dearest president the very best. At the end of the day, these international relationships are the ones that keep the country in safe places in most cases. Why you need support from your neighbors and you can't get it, sometimes the relationships you've built across different borders are the ones that sustain. The pictures you are seeing right there are pictures of President Museveni as he is being welcomed, and we are hoping for very great results when it comes to this particular meeting that is going to be taking place in Vietnam. Now, away from that, I'm going to be going straight into our press review. Let's check out what is in today's copy of the New Vision and also today's copy of the Daily Monitor. To start with, I have a copy of the Daily Monitor, and so much is happening, and I'll be telling you on which pages strategically. In case you want to buy, you can just go look out for which page you should be checking out instead of checking out everything. Now, the Daily Monitor says a new audit unearths COVID-19 cash abuse. Now, do note that COVID-19 came with a lot of controversies and, of course, a lot of information circulating about the misuse of funds and donations that were given to the country, and failure to account for some of the money by the Ministry of Health also caused a lot of contention in the public, and that is why we are seeing some of these things happening. But the new audit has unearthed COVID-19 cash abuse and fresh queries and say irregularities found by Office of the Government, and include several contracts given to firms owned by the same people, expenditure on services that were not used, and spending taxpayers' money beyond allocated ceilings. The full story is on page 4, and I believe you might want to get a copy of the Daily Monitor to find out where exactly this money went. And if you were among the people that were demanding for accountability, you know what I'm talking about this morning, because every single coin at this moment matters. So where the government puts our money, definitely we need to know that the money was utilized for what it was worth. Now, on page 8, NSSF board to meet today over Garugaba contract. Do note that in yesterday's copy of the Daily Monitor as well, he was being asked to resign on grounds that he is over 60 years and that is time for him to retire. And now we are seeing the board having to meet today over this very same issue, and let's wait and see what happens. Now, the decision day is today. The discussion about rehiring the incumbent chief executive gained traction after Deputy Solicitor General guided that his current contract ending next Thursday could not be terminated on the basis of clocking the retirement age. As you can see, there is someone saying he should go, and another one says no, he shouldn't be leaving the office. Well, let's wait and see what happens, since today is a decision day, and this means a lot when it comes to the guidelines that are put in place, the regulations that are put in place, and they are supposed to be guiding these bodies. If we do not see results that are expected, especially according to the guidelines, you might want to question some of the processes that are being used. But let's just leave it at that and see what happens today after the decision is made. Now, why police are vulnerable to attacks, you will find the full story on page 5 in case you have been interested. You've had numerous stories. The most recent story I had was about last week. A police officer was attacked, and he was actually hospitalized, and he had to be stitched because he had been hit badly. So you might want to find out why police officers are attacked. If you have a relative or something, maybe you might want to warn them in this case. Also, speaking matters, World Cup, Mark female students demand TVs. Macquarie University female students residing in the halls of residence have asked the university management for television sets to enable them to watch the ongoing World Cup games. That is very interesting. But away from that, court petitioned over delayed Vasaja trial. The full story is on page 9. You will find it right there. And the lizard, of course, has something to say. Yeah, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Well, this has been changed a little bit. It shouldn't be sounding like this. And this is in regards to the World Cup. Mark female students demand TVs and says, well, if you put it that way, yes, the boys want the TVs, the girls also want the TVs. So that is how it's going to be playing out. Let's wait and see if they will indeed be given out. Five family members die in a house fire. That is a tragedy that you will find the full details on page 2. You might want to grab yourself a copy of today's Daily Monitor. Now, on page 3, Obote's minister Kuya passes away in Kenya. That is where you'll find the details. That is on page 2. Then annual Passover night prayers return after 2 years. And of course, we're expecting different churches to be communicating where they will be holding their prayers. Kololo Independence Grounds, their churches and stuff like that. You will be informed depending on the church you go to. Now, Minister Acheng asks Mubende medics to be patient over their pay. The full details are on page 4. You might want to find out why there is no money to be paid, especially in time. New audit unearths COVID-19 cash abuse. The full story is on page 4. Why police stations are vulnerable to attacks. On page 5 is where the full story is. And Museveni in Vietnam to strengthen ties. You will find also details on page 5, so make sure that you do not miss. Now, UN Secretary Council tell M23 rebels to withdraw and disarm. That is according to the UN Security Council. The question is, will they listen? Will they be able to withdraw and disarm? Also, Owino vendors KCCA takeover. We have seen lots of controversies when it comes to markets in our country. And well, Owino vendors have now okayed KCCA takeover. And let's see where this takes the operations of this particular market. Now, inside government's plan to implement MP's resolutions, you will find the full story on page 6 as well. Find out what the government's plan is. Then mark to hold delayed guild polls next week. The full story is on page 7. Court also dismisses petition against anti-terrorism law on page 7 still. And on page 8, you will find Bobby bodyguard, 3 others missing for 19 days. Bobby Wine's bodyguard and 3 others have been missing for 19 days. Find out what exactly took place. NSSF board to meet today over the Rugaba contract on page 8. The full details. UPDF officer accused of land grabbing. Now, the land question in Uganda stays unanswered, and maybe the other question I would like to put on top of that is, when will it ever be answered? On page 8 is where you will find this particular UPDF officer who's being accused of land grabbing. Do note that security personnel have been very many times implicated in some of these cases, and so little has been done, and hopefully this time around we get to see the Land Commission coming out to help individuals that seem to be affected. Now, court has been petitioned over delayed Vasaja trial. On page 9, it's where you will find the details. Prosecutors of gender-based violence cases seek psychosocial support. Apparently, even a shrink needs a shrink at this rate. Now, how Shamlal vehicle repair skills saved him from expulsion. This is according to the Asian expulsion. You will find the details on page 10, and you will know what exactly served him. Now, optimism as Mubende marks 21 days without Ebola case. Do note that Mubende at one point was under lockdown, as put forward by the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, after very many cases were reported and you couldn't get in or get out of that particular area, that is Mubende. And if you were to go through, you don't make stopovers in Mubende, you cut across. Now, inside plan to turn Lira into a smart city. The full story is on page 13. You'll find every single detail, and you, my friend, you need to grab yourself a copy. Now, a lot is happening in our papers. Staff decry poor state of Anaka Hospital buildings. That is on page 28. West Nile launches free sanitary pads program, and this is majorly to the ladies that are affected, or the girls that are affected can't even go to school because of those days that they experience every month. New market brews boundary dispute between Gulu and Amuru. Full story is on page 29. Zimbabwe without Robert Mugabe. What has changed? Find out. The full story is on page 30. Do note that this is a country whose inflation was alarming. But then we want to find out what exactly has changed. Is it better? Or maybe Mugabe should have stayed. Yeah, so full story on page 30, you'll find every single detail. DRC denies French plane ferried arms to M23 rebels. Also, gunman kills 6 people in US Walmart shooting. You will find every single thing in here. Learning from hits, misses after unbundling UEB. 99.98% plant availability. You will find that on page 32 of today's copy of the Daily Monitor. So make sure that you grab yourself one and you will be in position to get every detail. I can't break it down for you, but I can give you highlights on what is happening, so that when you get insights, you'll be able to know which paper to buy in case you cannot pick the two for yourself. Now, if you are looking for tenders, you have over 180 tenders in today's copy of the New Vision. So if you're looking to do business with government and also some private individuals, you might want to check in today's copy of the New Vision. Find out if you are eligible, and then you can go ahead and pick these papers and go ahead and bid, because you might want to think about doing business with government. It is very secure. The only challenge that comes with it is that sometimes you might have to wait a little more than you should, but it eventually comes through. It is very, very secure that you will be paid. Now, if you have students, if you have all of our students, you have Senior 1 and Senior 2 Senior 1 English and Senior 2 Chemistry in today's copy of the New Vision. Then also, Auditor General exposes rot in COVID-19 deals. Now, we saw almost the same heading in today's copy of the Daily Monitor, so you might want to choose which one sounds better for you. You feel like the one that will give you the details that you would want, you will pick that one. Now, DRC Rwanda in fresh M23 talks. The full story is on page 3. Grab yourself a copy of today's New Vision. Museveni to chair Vietnam Investment Summit. The full story is on page 3. And government plans to review ban on Kavera. I thought we had gone past this point, but well, I guess we are still on the review stage. But the ban on Kavera is still hanging in balance, and if we are thinking of achieving the smart city, if we think of achieving a clean city and eliminating some of these things, maybe we should just do it once and for all and close it. What do you think? Well, away from that, Ronaldo steps forward to be counted. Details are on page 44. We are speaking matters at the World Cup, and you'll find every detail on page 44, like I already said. And well, let's check inside and see what is happening. Business mogul tips youth on job creation. Some of the participants during the Adventist Business Conference in Kampala on Sunday. Details are on page 2. You will know what exactly the youth need to do, which tips you were not able to get if you were not present, but today's copy of the Vision has it. Then DRC Rwanda fresh talks over M23. Museveni to chair Uganda Vietnam Investment Summit. On page 3 is where all these details are. First Lady woos experts on STEM education for girls. The conference has attracted delegates from over 20 countries. And today's copy of the New Vision on page 4 is where you will find this and more. The most developed and developing countries have leveraged STEM to spur great innovations and technological breakthroughs, and this is all on page 4. Also, Uganda protests Geneva attack on AG, that is the Attorney General, and then Speaker blocks debate on judiciary Nabanja clash. And interesting news and interesting things that come from Parliament. But the full story is on page 5. You might want to find out what exactly is taking place right there now. On page 6, Speaker wants ministries to popularize laws on gender-based violence. Also, Auditor General unmasks rot in COVID-19 expenditure and procurement. On page 7 is where you'll find every detail now. The Health Ministry contracted a firm to supply 2,000 bed sheets for isolated patients at Nambole at 103 million Uganda shillings, but the ministry did not use 1,000 of them. So these are the gaps that are in the COVID-19 expenditure. Now, Twine's response on procurement, full story on page 7. You get every single detail. Find out how you, who is a taxpayer, your money is being utilized. Government to sanction schools over online registration. Private schools that fail to provide an account for their learners to the ministry through EMIS will have their licenses and registration certificates revoked. That is on page 8, and you will find every single detail. Uganda Security Alert Innovation wins international fame. What does this mean for Uganda in terms of business and in terms of innovation? You might want to find out on page 10. Retool old teachers, Chambogo asks government. And Nakule police post-attack foiled, and of course the other attacks also have been mentioned. So you will find every detail in today's copy of the New Vision. Diabetics decry expensive drugs. If you have a diabetes patient, you know what I am talking about. Their drugs are not the very easy ones to have access to. Then also local government demands transparency. Now Mbale gets electrical factory. On page 13 is where every single detail is. Like I said, there is so much more that I cannot be able to break down for you. But what you can do is please go ahead and grab yourself a copy of today's New Vision. Businesses and tenders. In today's vision, you will be in position to do some business with government. At the end of the day, you are looking to grow your business and have some money added onto you. So please make sure that you do not miss out on what is in the vision today. Also, away from that, Chirumira court rejects, this is the Chirumira case, court rejects suspect's confession. Procedure was not followed in recording the statement. Now, also do remember that if the information provided does not was not obtained lawfully, then your evidence is null and void. So in this case, we are seeing the suspect's confession being rejected by court. Well, let's wait and see how this unfolds. New York judge sets a fraud trial date for Trump. And of course, so much more in today's copy of the New Vision. Please do grab yourself a copy. And if I'm not mistaken, it goes for only 2,000 Uganda shillings. And you will be in position to know what is happening at that particular moment. And away from that, that was what we had for you in the press review. We shall be going into Caribbean, East Africa. Let's find out what's happening with our neighbors.